What's up? Welcome to Black Queens Uncut. Grab your wine, your vape, or whatever you need to relax so we can get into this queen chat. I'm Monique Loveless. Queens, introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kiki Boom Boom.
Que pasa? It's TK Trinidad.
And I'm excited because we finally got him on the show today. We have host and DJ Damage. Hi.
What up, y'all? What up? Hope y'all feeling good.
Hey. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm super excited today because it's Father's Day. We're going to get into this episode.
Yes.
Because we did a Mother's Day. Now we're doing a Father's Day. We got to appreciate y'all too. Do you feel like you get enough love and appreciation being a father?
Absolutely. All day, every day.
Like just by your son or by like people all in general?
I think I get a lot of love from a gang of people. Yeah, I feel a lot of love. Feels good on Father's Day. Woke up, my son made me something to eat. Was it edible? Not really, but it was still a good vibe.
So what are the queens doing? It's going to be Sunday. So what are the queens doing let everybody across the panel. What are you doing on Father's Day? What are your plans?
First off, I want to shout out Damage because he's always put his son on I love to see fathers put their children out on a pedestal and love them and show Black fathers actually being fathers. You have some fathers who don't put their children out there and you're like, damn, I didn't even know he had a child. I didn't even know he had a wife. Right. Shout out to that part. So definitely Damage. I love so for you guys who don't know, Damage and I worked at the radio station together. I love seeing you just seeing you love on your son is amazing because it gives belief to women that men do that versus they just out here planting seed. My dad's amazing. I send him gifts. I send him gifts all the time. I send him gifts for Father's Day. My dad's amazing and he is shady. He's also entrepreneur, been an entrepreneur all my life. So I send him some of my products and he always tells me that his products are better than mine. So I'm probably just gonna
shady.
Yeah, because bro, I don't want to get it. Yeah, I don't want to get it on this show, but my dad's never been featured anywhere, so your products can't be clearly better than mine. I'm just saying.
Oh, what's going on? Not on Father's Day.
This is a Father's Day episode, TK. Not dragging your dad.
I love my dad, but my dad can be shaded on my stuff. You should be happy that I'm sending you stuff for free. People gotta pay. Anywho, he gets a phone call. He gets a video call. I send him a gift weeks in advance. And I might step it up sometime. I might step it up and send him something in addition to. But yeah, that's my dad. He gives me shade. I'm gonna give him shade back. That's how we do.
That's hilarious.
Well, I will say this so my real dad, which I used to call my sperm donor, but I need to stop doing that. My real dad, I don't really talk to as much. We are starting to try to get a relationship, but my mom married my stepdad when I was 10 years old, and he's dope. I have a lot of father figures in my life, so I'll be sending out a lot of cards, of course, for Father's Day. But my stepdad is dope. I wouldn't trade him in for nothing. I be telling my mom I like him better than I like you sometimes. So, I feel like if I was there, I would do so much more for him. But since I'm not there, it'll probably just be a card and a gift card. I just send gift cards and stuff at this point. So that's what I'll be doing on Sunday. I'll give him a call and stuff. I'll call him and stuff, but that's pretty much it. What about you?
This is my first time on the East Coast that I'll be here for Father's Day because I've been in LA for 6 years. But I'm in New York and my dad's in Boston, which I'm currently in Boston. So I'll probably come to Boston and hang out with my dad. My dad and our relationship has gotten way better because I didn't know who my dad was for the first 10 years of my life. So even when I met him at 10, I was like, no. And then at 16, I was like, definitely not. So as I got older, our relationship has gotten so much better. We're in such a great space. So because I am on the East Coast, I may come to Boston and take him out for brunch or something because I love brunch. So he has to love what I love.
That'll be super dope because I feel like my real dad, we are trying to work, but I met him when I was 10 And then I met him again at my graduation when I graduated high school. And, you know, that was pretty much it. So I feel like, you know, it's weird that and damn it, you talked about this before we came on, but it's, you know, does that affect you, like not having your father around?
Absolutely. We all need our fathers. I think it affects us in a great way. Absolutely.
Kiki, what about you?
I don't know. I don't think my father not being around affected me. I think because I grew up in a predominantly woman family. Like everybody in my family were women. So to me, like when I met my dad, it wasn't like, to me, I was just like, okay, cool, nice to meet you. But I wasn't like, oh, that's my dad. Like I felt like at that age, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. But as I've gotten older, I do believe that, like, you know, I think everyone needs either both parents. But I don't think it affected me that my dad wasn't there. I'm just happy that we're like closer now that I'm older, because now I have another family that I didn't really know about. And I have like half brothers and stuff like that. So for me, I wasn't. But I'm still working on my like anti-dad. I'm growing. It's gross.
I am too. I have to agree. Because if you used to ask me, I used to be the same way. I used to be like, listen, I don't know that man. If he crossed my path, I don't know that man. I don't know what he looked like. You can't ask me nothing about him. I don't know anything about him.
But I do think it's dope to see today that there's so many dads who are in their kids' lives. I think that's amazing, especially for our generation, because a lot of us did come from the fatherless homes. So I do think it's an amazing thing to see, especially Black men, Black fathers. I love going on like Black family pages and like seeing like Black father pages. I'm like, that is so sweet. Like, so I love seeing Black men and their kids. I think that's just such a beautiful thing, because like TK said and like Damage says, like it kind of puts that out there, like there are men who are great fathers. Like, let's not get that twisted. So I love seeing that.
Right. And Damage, how did it affect you not having your father, being a father now?
I mean, I don't really have the blueprint on how to be a father because I didn't have one, but I think you said this. I had a lot of father figures. I went to a lot of schools that had strong, you know, male role models around. So I was able to kind of use that as some kind of guide for myself. But as far as me not having a father, I'm kind of doing the fatherhood thing as I go along, you know, just learning as I go, and, you know, try to consult with other people that are fathers as well. But I think that's the biggest impact, the fact that I didn't really have my dad in my life. So I'm trying to figure out how to be a positive father for my son.
And what have you learned so far, thus far? How old is your son?
8 years old.
Okay. So what have you learned thus far?
Oh, man.
So we can get all the rest of our Black men into our kids, other kids' lives. Like, what have you learned so far?
Oh, man, there's a lot of dads out there. But I learned you have to be patient. That's the first thing you learn when you have kids. You have to be patient. You have to be selfless. If you're having children and you think it's still all about you, then you're already losing. Like, it's you have to pour into your child. It's about them. You have to put them first. Being patient. Also try to understand, you know, not just try to dictate and you do that, you do this, you know, try to understand why your kid is reacting the way they're reacting. Why do they talk the way they talk? Why do they think the way they think? Really take some time to have conversations with your children. So it's a lot you learn as you go. Every day you learn something new. I can't lie to you. Every single day, you know, your kid grows, he learns something new, he teaches you something new. But that's some of the the foundation right there, some of the things I've seen.
And are you like full time? Does your kid live? You live in LA, right? Does your kid live here too? Your son live here?
Are you in LA too?
Yeah, I'm in. We all are pretty much in LA. Kiki's just in New York.
Oh, nice. Now. Yeah, my son's in LA for sure. Yep.
Okay, so you're full time.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to these guys out here who aren't taking care of their kids?
Jesus.
What?
I mean, I'm just asking. What would you say to these guys out here who aren't taking care of their kids? Like, what is something that you feel like
you got to stand up and take. You got to stand up and take responsibility. To be honest, though, I think both people, man and female, you know, before you have a child, y'all need to have real conversations. You know, it just doesn't fall on one person. You have to be realistic. People should really take some time, take some effort, and understand the relationship they're in with people before they procreate. So that's the biggest thing I would say, because there are a lot, I guess, guys that are not in kids' lives, and then vice versa. I know a lot of really poor, ill-equipped moms that do a lot of spiteful things, which also causes an effect of where a child doesn't have a father. So it's an impact on everybody. And I think the saddest part about these situations is, I'll just make up a scenario. Guy and girls talking, guy and girl aren't that serious. Someone gets pregnant, they decide to have a child, or she decides to have the child. He's like, I don't want to do it. She's like, I want to do this, but no one's considering how the child will feel. You know, even if you want to do this is what I want to do. Okay, moving forward, just know you're about to have a human, and the father might resent this person. You know, you got to think about the situation you're putting that child into. It's a big deal. You know, making children is a huge deal. So I just say to both, you know, fathers, young fathers out there, young mothers, like, really think about what you're doing before you lay down with somebody. Use condoms if you're not ready to have children. Men, use condoms if you're not ready to have children.
Say that one again.
Use condoms if you don't want to have children, you know? So on Father's Day, I don't want to put out a message to all the dads out there. I don't feel like that's something we do on Mother's Day. I think it's kind of rude to do that. But for everybody out there, take care of your responsibilities, you know?
TKC, you see what he said? It's going to be hard. And you trying to pop out 3 all at once.
Oh, yeah. That's happening, period. That's a whole nother conversation, though.
Okay, well, moving forward. I do want to ask this before we get into our sponsor. I want to ask, how do you talk to your son about police brutality? Because he's around the age where I feel like you probably have to have the conversation now, seeing as what we are seeing. So how do you talk to your son about the police, what to do, and police brutality, like what's going on with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor's, and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, my son is still very, very young, and his mind can only digest for so much. But the first thing I teach my son is how to be a respectful human, you know, and know when and when not to be in certain situations, just first. Because I feel like as a young kid, a lot of his run-ins that he'll be encountering with police will be while he's with his friends or while he's doing something. So I have to instill it in him now. You know, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't feel pressured to be somewhere you don't want to be, or to do something that you know is not right to do. So I think that's the first thing, teaching him how to embody right from wrong in himself and not be a follower. Because a lot of times where I was caught up as a young kid, where I seen police or police was around, I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. Not saying the cops were wrong or right, but I know I had a knowledge to, I shouldn't even been here, right? So you teach that first. And then second, you tell him, because my son is still at an age where he thinks, you know, police are good. Police is good. And I tell him police are good, but there are some that will carry on and act a certain way based on your skin color. And we live in Burbank, California. So I'm still trying to help my son understand the difference of race, you know, because all his friends are Armenian or white, you know, there is a spectrum. So I'm trying to, it's so many layers to this, because he has to understand why is it different that he's black before I can even tell him that a cop might discriminate against you because you're black. He has to understand the blackness part first. So that's been my biggest journey. You know, I make sure my son not only has me around, but other black men to respect around him. So he has a boxing trainer, even down to his barber. You know, his barber needs to be black, so he can just understand blackness. So then that next phase will be, okay, now you know that you're black and, you know, your uncle's black, blah, blah, blah. There's some people out there in this world that will try to treat you differently because of this. And this is how you have to navigate. And this is how you have to stay on your toes. And this is how you have to react. Not to be submissive and not to be less than, but to survive out here. Because in reality, you can feel however you want to feel, but I need you to come home. Mm-hmm. So I think it's so many layers to it, especially because my son's so young. So I'm really like taking the steps to getting there. You know, we've had these talks, but I'm like, he's still trying to understand, why is it such a big deal that I'm black and somebody else is another color? Which is, when you explain it to a child, it seems even more silly. It's like, son, honestly, I don't know why it's a big difference, but it is. And this is how we got to moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Kiki, I know that wasn't a good segue.
It's not, so I'm going to try to set it up differently.
For all the fathers.
That's why I was like, Monique, I got you.
For all the fathers out there who want to be gentlemen.
No. I'm gonna ask a question and then I'll set it up to kind of.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes,
You can have.
Damage, we have a sponsor, so I'm trying to go after that. That was so beautifully said. Our sponsor just wouldn't fit right there, so I'm going to ask you this question: as a father, do you think on Father's Day there is a bias between Father's Day and Mother's Day when it comes to gifts? When people post memes about Father's Day and Mother's Day, do you think it's like a Father's Day, Mother's Day bias?
For sure. And everybody love their mama. Come on, it's mama.
I don't know about all that, but yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. All right, so since we got into that, well, speaking of Father's Day and Mother's Day, if you guys have no idea, and I know Father's Day, I do feel like there is a bias, and I know moms get the best gifts. So fathers, I know this is your day, but I feel like you can gift your significant other with this. So The Wand is a woman-founded premium brand of personal vibrating massagers that bring unparalleled quality to notoriously sketchy industry. The Wand originated as one of hell of a classic wand, aka a vibrator, and it now has become a full line of best-in-class, heart-pounding, hell-raising toys designed with pleasure and mind for all bodies. LaWand embraces and champions intimacy for all powerful, versatile pleasure tools that insist in bringing you to the next level. So yes, I know it's Father's Day, but men, maybe you can benefit by gifting this to some lucky mother, or if you gift this, you might be able to make someone a mom, and then they can give you something for Father's Day. So make sure you guys check out the LaWand website. They have all types of great toys and some travel accessories, and happy Father's Day to the guys.
That's what we doing.
I had to try to, because this is women are not the only people who use vibrators and wands. Men do too. And Father's Day is coming up, and I feel like women and men, or whoever you date, you can gift a dad a great massager, and they have couple stuff. And I know it's Father's Day.
What if you have
I want the dads to feel included, because I do think sometimes it is a bias when it does come to Mother's Day and Father's Day.
I mean, Damage's face was just like, cool.
We had to read the sponsor.
Look, man, you gotta get.
So, going into the dating era, are you currently single or taken? Before we go into this,
Taken.
You are taken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so while you were dating, how did that work out, and what were kind of the rules when you have a son? Because I feel like it's different. I do feel like it's different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I don't think the rules are any different though. I'm looking for somebody that's respectful, smart, kind, empathetic, definitely has a sense of humor, motivated, driven. It's the same thing. I don't think there's any differences of rules. I definitely want somebody that is motherly. I was talking about this the other day. I remember I was talking to someone, and they were telling me how they don't want kids. And I thought that was so rude to say to somebody that you're talking to that has a child. And I was just like, you have to put more
it's a girl that you were like.
Yeah, you got to put more content. Okay, so you don't want, what does that mean? Because I have a kid. So it's kind of like.
That means she just wanted you for sex.
Well, no, I think, because I can't speak for her. I can speak for myself, for instance, right? I'll tell guys, I don't want kids, but I am open to dating guys with kids, and I'm open to having a conversation with a guy who wants a kid. So that's how I say it like that.
You see that? That's a full phrase. But when you tell somebody like, yeah, but I don't think I want kids, it's a red flag for me, because, okay, you don't want kids, which is fine, but I have a kid. If this was to go somewhere, what does that mean for my child now? Are you just going to tolerate my child? Because I don't want to be in a situation where somebody's tolerating my child. That's off the table. You have to love my child.
Yeah, I see it as if somebody says, I don't want to have kids, but I'm interested in you. That means we just gonna be casual. We just a hookup. Like, that's what that means to me. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, but it could be subjective to everyone. Yeah. I didn't know what she meant by it. I was very interested. I was like, I know it's a red flag.
Right. That's why I give a phrase now. I give a phrase. I'd be like, look, I don't want kids, but I love kids, and I'm open to dating guy with kids. But if I have to give the whole which I don't mind doing that now, because back then I would just say, I don't want kids, and I had to be like, no, I probably shouldn't say that to a guy with kids. So now I will lead with like, But if you have kids, I love kids. Kids love me. I'm great.
And that's respectable. Like, you know, that's your body. That's what you want to do with it. But, you know, I need to know whoever I'm dealing with is going to not just try to tolerate my kid.
Yeah.
Like that's not a loving environment.
And I feel like that's why I say rules, because I feel like it's different for people who are parents. Like you, and I'm talking about my, you know, the girl, my sister friend. Like I feel like her rules to dating was a little bit different than mine because she did have a kid. But for guys, I especially that I think it could be a little bit different too because you're a full-time dad. Because guys who aren't full-time dads or don't claim their kids at all is a little bit different. I feel like, Kiki, if you said something like that, who is somebody who don't, first of all, you don't want to be with them. But
I would never date someone who had kids and didn't respect the whole, like, I just would never, if I found out you had kids and then I'd be like, well, where are your kids? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm dating you and I felt like you didn't respect that whole thing, you didn't take care of your kids, that's just someone
or talk bad about the baby mama. Like this.
Yeah, like I can't deal with a guy
horrible.
who trashes their kid's mom. Like, I have my own rules when it comes to guys with kids, and it's like I don't mind dating a guy with kids. You just have to be respectful to your kid's mom if you do have a relationship and be in your kid's life. Because I was the kid who didn't have that.
Yeah, and I'm interested. Do y'all hold women to that same standard? Like, if your friends talk bad about their baby dad, do you say the same thing, or is it just like a one-way street?
No,
it depends.
I say it. I say it.
I hold my friends accountable because here's the thing. Yes, I'll listen to my friends' stories, and there's a lot of, like, for instance, my dad was not in my life. And shout out to my dad, because my dad, he does radio. He listens to everything that I do. So I know he's going to listen to this. But I'm very honest. My father was never in my life. My mother did everything. My mother didn't trash my dad, but she would be frustrated sometimes. And then she was one of those women that was like, well, fuck it, I'll do it by myself. So I understood where she was coming from. But I do have friends where I do hold them accountable, where I'm like, cool, I understand where you're coming from. And I understand you feel like you had a bad situation, but let's try to figure this out. And this is someone who y'all had a kid together with. Mm-hmm. Like, y'all just have to have a better communication system for your kid. Like, I just feel like if they're a bad person, either cut them off and just do what you got to do and keep it pushing. But let's not, I don't know, maybe because I'm getting older, like, let's not harp on it. Either, like, let's figure it out. And I know it's hard to figure it out.
I feel like it depends. It definitely depends, because I've seen a lot of women in abusive relationships. So if my friend is in an abusive relationship and she's like, listen, I got to cut ties, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to encourage that. And I'm not going to encourage her to go back or have any communication just because they have a child together, because that's a very toxic situation. So it just depends. Now, if it's just the homegirl who is being ratchet and was like, he ain't doing this, or because I want to be with him and he don't want to be with me, then I'm not going to let him see his kid and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna check her. I'm gonna be like, listen, that's not how we roll now. But so it just kind of like all depends on the actual situation, because if it's a toxic situation, your kids also see that and pick up on that energy. So I'm not going to encourage you to continue that toxic situation in front of your children.
That's funny.
BK, you the one who want to have all these damn kids.
Yeah, but that's called communication. Like, I'm at the end of the day, whoever I have kids with, we're always, anybody that I have relations with, any of my gentlemen, like, we're the communication issue is never, the communication is never a problem, and honest and being open. And, you know, my parents were married for 30 plus years. And there were times where situations happened where I didn't necessarily know what was going on, but my mom never bashed my dad. I still to this day don't know what happened. Like, they're divorced now, but, you know, I know why they're divorced. But to those situations in my life where, you know, my dad was gone for a moment or whatever, they separated, I never knew what was the outcome. And my mom never said anything negative about him. So at the end of the day, it's just like and my dad still showed up. And then they got back together, and I think they were only broken up for like a year or something. But they got back together, and, you know, I didn't come, like, say if my mom said all these negative things about him, and then she forgives him, and now he's in the house, and now I'm inundated with all this negative stuff that she felt at the moment. Because I'm that type of person. You tell me something about your boyfriend, and I'm gonna look at the boyfriend sideways from now on. And she didn't do that. So it definitely does depend on the situation. Of course, if it's extremes where there is abuse and stuff like that, that's totally different. But you know, I do have those friends and, you know, guy friends too, who say all these negative stuff. And especially if I'm dating, if the guy is saying something negative about his baby mama, that's extreme red flag to me, because it's just like, you talking about, like, why are you telling me this? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, at the end of the day, no matter who I have my kids with, I'm never going to say anything negative about their father. And at the end of the day, we're going to have a relationship and a friendship, period. And they're going to see that no matter what. So yeah, that's just how things rolled in my house.
Yeah. Okay. So vice versa, do y'all date men who have kids?
Yeah, I've dated men.
No. Listen, yes.
Darren started smiling like, I want to know this one.
Well, you know, like, okay, so for me, you know, we talked about this on the last episode. I've been doing like a lot of growing. So when I was younger in my 20s, I would say like, oh, I probably wouldn't date a guy with kids. But as I got older, I was like, but you don't really want kids. Like, so why not? You know what I'm saying? And then I was like, and then I got older and then moved to LA. And the dating pool was very
Tiny.
specific.
It's like the small.
And it wasn't there. So I was like, no, I kind of have to open that door. But I did have rules where I was like, if I do date a guy with a kid, if the mother's in their life, he has to be respectful. And I have to know that like you don't have to introduce me to your baby mother like that day, but I would love that type of communication, because I do think it's weird if that's not there and then some random chick is around your kid. And I understand where you're like, no. And then as a father, I would love for you to just like be in your kid's life. So that's like my rule. So today, I definitely wouldn't mind dating a guy with kids. I'm open to it. But like I was telling you guys until damage, like I will tell guys like I don't want kids, but I love kids. So like I'm open to having that conversation, but I'll be a cool.
So would you take, so since you don't want kids, would you take this one as your kid?
No,
like,
that's not my kid. Here's the thing. And I think women and men have to be careful with that, because the children have parents. So I think when you come into someone's life, you should be a great support system, but not their parent. And my dad's wife truly loved my stepmom, because that's what she did. She didn't come into my life to be my mom. She's like literally the best stepmother on the planet. And she was there as like a support system. Like she was like, this is who I am. You don't have to call me mom because I'm not your mom. You have your mom. So I'm one of those people, when I date a guy, I'm not trying to be the kid's like mom, but depending on where we go, like if we get married, I would love to have that relationship and be the best stepmother that I can be while your mom is standing with me side by side. Like that's, you know, that's how I would do it.
Yeah. PK.
I've dated, I don't have a problem with guys with kids. It's the amount of kids that, you know, sometimes gets into. I feel that the sweet spot, like you could do one or two. And guys with kids, like a lot of kids have tried to date me and I'm like, bro, you don't have time. Like I'm a handful and you got 4 kids. That's you don't have time. So like I don't mind dating guys with kids, but the guys who come up to me is like, I got 4 kids. I'm like, bro, you're not gonna have time. And I'm always right. So yeah, I don't mind dating guys with kids, but it's the same thing that you said, Kiki, like you have to be respectful to their baby mama, or just don't tell me. I just don't want to know. I don't want to know the drama. Don't give me the breakdown of what she did, because at the end of the day, she's gonna have a story that I'm never gonna hear, and I don't want to be part of it. So like, just, you know, don't tell me the drama. And then on top of that too, if your kids are not respectful, then that actually makes me question like that person's parenting, because it's like, all right, so if we have kids like that, like we might not be aligned. So it's like if you have very respectful kids, and my ex, his kid was super respectful. Like I love the kid more than I loved him. So like I'm about that. But if your kids are kind of like, you know, they rude and stuff, I that's another, like I can't. It's not gonna work out.
So if the kid is rude, you're going to just break up with them. You're like,
yeah, because I'm wondering, why is the kid rude? Like if I've met kids who are they're polite and they say thank you and they have manners, and
but
then I meet
this just are rude to you in the beginning because they just don't know you.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Like I mean, damage, you're the parent, so let me know. But that's the whole thing. I was taught, even if I don't know you, like I'll give you a nod or I'll give you a hello, and I've done my duty as a child. So like I can't accept that unless they're going through something that the parent is now the father's like, oh yeah, this is the situation that happened. But they're just out rude and the the father hasn't explained to me why, and they're just like, oh, he's like that, that's gonna like, well, what are you doing that your child is acting this way to somebody that to strangers? Because I was taught, if you see a stranger, then you are of the utmost respect. You say hello, and then you go about your business. You don't act up, because when that stranger leaves, your parents will then act up on you. So I didn't want any of that. So I feel like that's I know parents. I have plenty of friends who are parents. Their children are respectful. So if your child can't be respectful, then I have no business.
Yeah, I mean, that's because you came up old school when we used to have like community rearing of children. Now, the kids are only taught they have to respect their parents. That's it. So I know you heard this term, like kids go outside, and if somebody tries to tell their kid to do something right or don't do that, who are you? You ain't my dad. You ain't my mom. I don't gotta listen to you. Yes, you do. But we made that okay now. It's okay for our kids to disrespect everybody but us. You know, it's like, are you really respectful if you only respect me? No. So yeah, I agree with you, TK. It should not be like that.
Which I'm gonna ask you in a minute, because I watched that episode that y'all talked about the teacher spanking the kid. So, but I will say this. To finish up the question, I, up until recently, have never and wanted to never date guys that have kids. But now that I'm in my 30s, you can have one. That's it. Like, you gotta
not one on the way though. Just one.
I'm curious. Why when you reached your 30s did you go, you can have one?
First of all, one of my friends, well, she's a former friend now, but we were really close. She really said something that, hit me. I think for a long time, I didn't think that I wanted kids. So I felt like if you brought kids, it was just baggage. Like I did the right thing in life. And now you brought baggage into this relationship, because who knows what's going on with your baby mama? Who knows what, because I come from the hood. So baby mamas, most of them are not all communicating and have growth. So being here now in LA and having growth, and then a friend was talking to me because she was dating she's been always dated this guy who has a kid, and she was just like, it has really taught me that it's really showed me that he can be a great dad. So when we decide to have kids together, he can teach me how to do things. And I already know his parenting style and how he's going to be when it comes to his kids. So I felt like that was a good takeaway. And then so that's one, growth. And two, I will say, when you get in your 30s, it's more than likely that most men have kids already. So if I'm like, okay, do I want to say when I'm dating somebody, if they're a great person, do I want to cut them off just because they have a kid? And they could be doing great by this kid. They could be the best father in the world. And do I want to cut myself off from this person who could be a great person in my life in order to, just because he has a kid? Now, it has to be a kid. I can't do kids with plural. I'm not there yet. I haven't grown that much yet.
I think mine also comes from experience in my 20s, because I dated guys with kids in my 20s, and it was the bad experience where it was the baby mother drama. It was a lot because it wasn't communication. So I think at the end of my 20s, I got jaded where I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm good on that. But then as I got older and then I got into my mid 30s, I was like, but I can't take those experiences and use that against someone who may actually be a great dad and communicates. And the dating pool is really short, and had to lower that list just a little bit. So, and I know there's women with kids, and I know sometimes, if a woman wants to date a guy, who am I to say as a woman, I don't want to date him because he has kids, because I wouldn't like it if I had kids and a guy said that to me. So
yeah. And I think that's another reason why too, is because when you grow up in a certain place and all you see is drama when it comes to somebody and having kids with somebody, and that's all you see. Because where I came from, even though it was, okay, so I'm from Dayton, Ohio. So even though it's hood, it's kind of, I know, that's the response everybody gives me. like, ooh, okay. But coming from where I came from, most people had kids in high school. So when I graduated, majority of the women or the girls that I graduated with already had kids. My mom had me when she was 19. Her sisters had kids when they were 17 and stuff like that. So like my cousin was pregnant at 14. So with that, you're a kid having a kid. So you just see so many things that go down when you're having a kid that I always was just like, oh no, let me steer away from that because I'm the unicorn and I don't have any. And I feel like that's just not going to bring anything but drama. I'm open, but I'm not too far open. Like you can have a rude kid. I'll deal with a rude kid, but you can't have multiple kids. Like you just can't have multiple kids.
So you would take one rude kid over two well-behaved men or
yes.
kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I would take one because kids are a lot. I think people don't understand how much kids actually are. Like they're a lot. And I feel like there have been some kids that you come across that are rude, but if they're rude to certain people or they're rude to, they're like, oh, I can only respect my parents. But if you teach them to respect you, then I've seen where they tend to start respecting you because you're just like, that's not. But I could deal with one rude kid over multiple well-behaved kids. That's just
okay.
My piece.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, all right.
That's your thing.
She's on. Hey.
So I do want to ask this before we go into the next and kind of like final topic though. But okay, so when you were dating Damage, you date to be long term because you do have a kid, or how do fathers think about it? That's what I want to know.
I don't know how all men think about it. I think it's just where you at in your life. I think at some points you go, all right, I am looking for something serious. I mean, I'm in my 30s too. So now I am looking more long term. I'm thinking about the future. And I'm not trying to be a single dad when my son is hitting double digits. Like when my son's starting to go through puberty, I don't think it would benefit him, me being a single man. I think that's going to teach him not the right things that I would want my son to know about dating life, women. I think it would be best if I was married or at least with somebody seriously, so he can have that model. And I think that would be really important. So yeah, at this point, my son's 8, so double digits is in 2 years. So yeah.
You want to announce something on here, damn it?
I'm definitely trying to be more intentional about how I date for sure. Absolutely.
You want to announce something on here, Damage? You said wedding coming, we TV, none of that. I'm just
no.
Okay.
No, y'all in the same boat. Spicy helping both of y'all. CK and then Spicy helping both of y'all.
You're seeing Spicy too?
No.
Oh yeah, I hired Spicy. She's amazing.
That's dope though. That's good. I think more women should be more open to matchmaking and stuff like that.
You know why? Because the thing about Spicy too, I mean, Spicy worked with Damage and we all went at the
I DJ'd a lot of her events. Yeah. The great thing about Spicy is that she knows how to talk to you. Like she speaks your language. Like I come from an athletic background. In my mind, I'm always going to be an athlete. She talks to me like a coach. Like she's very snappy on help me get my shit together. So, I mean, shout out to Spicy for y'all who like, if you're wondering, you have questions, like I definitely recommend her. I think a lot of people should get more into matchmaking for sure. So shout out to Spicy, the Spicy Life.
She was on. She came on last.
I about to say she was on one of our episodes, and there's times now where I'll go back to the episode and I'm like, damn, I can hear Spicy in my head because she dragged us all for filth. And there's things that now I'll put into motion when I'm like talking to a guy, and I'm like, well, Spicy did say you should do X, Y, and Z. So I definitely go back and listen to that episode, and I definitely take some gems from what she told us.
And, I'm on a panel with all beautiful grown women here, help the next generation of ladies learn how to vet their dating options better. I feel like when I talk to a lot of my homegirls, they like, oh, I dealt with this toxic this and that. And then on the other side, I know a bunch of just real thorough dudes that don't get as much as attention or as many dates. Not saying they're some lonely, weird, like, it's like, man, I think there's a disconnect on the courting situation or how women vet sometimes. And I'm not just putting it on y'all, because there's a lot of guys that are deceitful, liars, of course. But also at the same time, I think when I was younger, the girls I was into, they were always into the guys that was going to amount to not much, dudes that were in the streets or doing just certain things. And that influences other guys that like those girls to act the same way. Because men do a lot for women, believe it or not. I don't know if y'all know that. Like, a lot of our existence is to do things to be in better, standings with y'all. So if I'm a young boy, if I'm 12 and I like this girl and she likes this dude that's in the streets, already as a man, I'm influenced by the streets already, because if I don't have a male role model, I'm going to go out and find a male role model. That's just how men are. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, the woman I'm into or the girls I like those kind of guys. So it's an extra incentive to become this fuckboy that y'all don't like. So I just think, like, if y'all,
is that why there's so many fuckboys? Like, I feel like now in your 30s, you can't find a real guy who, like, you don't get options. Like, it's like you kiss a lot of frogs to get to one prince, and you don't get a lot of options anymore.
Well, it just depends on what your standards are. Honestly, there's a lot of guys out here. I remember
LA is not a dating pool.
LA, I mean, it just depends. Honestly, it just all depends. I'm not from here, so I can't speak on LA specifically, but I remember I was talking to one of my homegirls, and she was just telling me how she just wanted to meet somebody good. It's a decent guy, boom. My best friend, worked at 3 major companies in beverage. He's about 30, high standings in his company. Everything he does, he just bought a house, Christian dude. Don't cheat. Even when we were young and trying to get him to do stupid stuff, he was like, it's just not my thing. I just asked her, like, yo, y'all should just have a conversation. So I send the picture, right?
I already know what happened.
And she goes, how tall is he? I think he about like 5'7". Oh, never mind.
That's you, TK.
So wait, you won't even have a conversation with him based off of, because he's 5'7". He wasn't like 5'2". Now that's like, like, you don't even want to talk to him. I'm not saying y'all would hit it right off, but this is the kind of guy you're saying you're looking for. Right. You won't even have a conversation with him. And that's a problem. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if y'all could talk to the, just help the younger generation. And I'm going to do my part too with the guys.
Yes.
Helping them out, seeing like that. It can't be like that. You can't be writing people off on something. So that's the most shallow thing you can do.
Right.
Like, because he's 5'7".
I agree, because I think it's like a cycle. Like, I think men want the women that may not want them, and then women want the men that may not want them. And I think it's like a cycle where you may like a guy and he might like the IG baddie looking girl. You like, well, damn, as an average girl, is there hope for me? So I do think it's definitely a cycle, but I know for me, it's very important to get on a platform like this, like you said. And I do, like, I'll talk to young girls and I'll talk to women and I'll give my life experiences, and I'm very honest. Well, I'll be like, I didn't want to date guys with kids, but now I'm open to it. Like, the guys I used to date were like 6'4", 6'5". The last guy I just talked to was like 5'8". So, like, I try to be as honest as possible, because, like, I try to tell women, like, especially black women, and especially black women in LA, like, our dating pool is hella short now, because it's different for black women in LA. So I try to tell my girlfriends, like, let's open it a little bit more. Like, there might be things we wanted at 25, but we might find a bomb dude that probably didn't match up to everything on that list. But he might have a gray head on his shoulders. He might have this going on. But let's just open that door just a little bit. Right. You know what I'm saying? And just bring it down just a little bit. So I think it's good for guys to also tell guys the same thing. Because I do feel like there are men who OD and they be like, I want a girl to look like this. Baddie. Go to the club.
I don't know many of those guys, though.
Okay, so can you hook one of us up?
I mean, it just depends on what you into. Because like I said, I've been in this situation before. And I try to introduce somebody to a decent guy, and because of
she wasn't evolved yet. Some women we have to.
Yeah, she wasn't evolved. Y'all trying to hand off good guys to thoughts, like,
and but not. I think what it is, conversation. I think there are some men and women who are just not evolved yet, right? Where they don't know what they want. So I think sometimes we'll, as friends, try to hook our female friends up with like great guys, and that female might not be evolved, or we might try to hook our guy, you know what I'm saying? And that man might not be evolved yet, where they're like, I may talk to this person who I probably wouldn't have talked to before.
But you also have to say what you're putting into the universe. Like on
Yeah.
multiple occasions
Yeah.
on this episode, you said that the dating pool is small, and it's just kind of like. And I also agree with what you said, Monique, that you have to kiss a lot of frogs. But at the end of the day, if you keep on saying the dating pool is small, then you're not going to date.
Well,
You know what I'm
no,
saying?
I say that because of my experiences, but after I'll say that sentence, I'm also like, but I'm open to whatever is out there. So that's why my checklist looks completely different, because I know for me, I'm a plus size black woman in LA. That's my experiences. They have not been great, but when I go out, I'm not bitter. I'm out. Y'all know me. I go out and have a good time. I'm still like, what's up? Hey. So I think like it's just all about life experiences. I think we could be honest and tell our truths and say, listen, I don't have the best dating record in LA. Guys don't really check me out, but
Yeah.
because of Spicy, a girl might go on Bumble now. So I think it's really like, I think we still can be honest. I think we still could be honest about the things that we went through in the past, but also be open to new things too.
And that's
Well,
very
Damage,
true.
hook us all up, Damage. We all need help. Just
I will say
slide
this.
pictures in the DM.
Yeah, we all need help. That's what we had Spicy on for. She was reading us for Phils, but we all need help. But the thing is I say this, like, I'm a sapiosexual, so I like intelligence. Like, I don't care. The boyfriend that I moved here for was 5'7". When I put on heels, I was taller than him. That does not bother me. He thought it was sexy. I thought it was sexy too. So my thing is, like, at the end of the day, I feel like our black men need to be speaking to the men as well, because they're not maturing as black women are maturing. We have become the number one field of entrepreneurs. We have become the number one enrolled in college for education. So if this is the facts, that means we're doing the damn thing to make sure that our lives are not to sit around and wait for a man, when other ethnicities or races are taught that they should get married first in order to continue with their lives. As black women, we haven't. So then you get the 42%, which I think is now higher, of black women who never get married. I mean, we are going off on a whole different subject, but the thing is like, I feel like it's also meant for men to speak as well. This is what we are doing, and that's why we have these conversations. Because
it's definitely not, only women should talk to women. And I mean, I came up in the Nation of Islam. Men talk to men and women talk to women. That's why I'm saying, I hope you are talking to the younger women, because the one thing that's a common denominator, if I live talking to y'all or somebody else, is I was in this toxic relationship. This dude did this dude did that. And now, believe it or not, that taints you from finding a quote unquote good guy, because now you're moving in defense. Every situation you jump to is in defense mode, because, and we all done this when we're young. Sometimes we don't pick right. But I know the difference between men and women is, when a man gets denied or doesn't go right for a man, he goes to the next thing. You know, if a guy goes out, if he tries to talk to 20 girls and he gets 2 numbers, he won. If y'all go out and try to approach one guy and he not feeling y'all might not approach a guy for a year. You see what I'm saying? So it's
that is
a different mentality.
That is true.
And that's why I feel like, and it's not a men are better than women and vice versa. We both have to do our own work, but we have to understand that we are different. You know, we're just different. True. We move differently and we think differently.
I definitely agree as well. There is one last question I wanted to ask, fatherly wise, because we got off all. You had this whole different take on, as y'all was talking about it on Hollywood Unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher spanked the kid in front of the parent, and you agreed with it. Can you expound on that? Because
no, I didn't agree with it. I said, okay, I don't see anything necessarily wrong. It depends on how the situation came about. If how I came up, if I see a paddle and I see a teacher and I see a parent, for this teacher or this principal to walk around with a paddle as a principal, someone agreed to disciplinary, like this, for this person to be disciplinary at the school. Maybe. That's just what I looked at it as. So I'm just like, well, it's no way this woman can walk around spanking multiple children, and this is the first time we're hearing about it. That's impossible. And then there was another point of view where they said the mother was an immigrant. And maybe she did agree to some things just for her kid to go to this school, and she wasn't comfortable. So I'm not saying it was right, but I do understand how I came up. If I give you permission to discipline my child, that's fine. If I gave permission, because like I said before, my child needs to know how to respect people outside of me. Because when you grow up, you turn 18, you go into the world, I'm not there. So you respecting me don't really mean shit. Honestly, how do you respect other people? How are you held accountable to other people? Are you going to be on your best behavior? Now, I'm not saying, oh, every teacher should smack the shit out of kids and do that. However, I am comfortable to sending my son to a disciplinary school. I am. I'm not putting that on nobody else. I'm not suggesting it for anybody else. That's how I came up. I feel like I came up fine. I wasn't getting beat for no reason. I don't have any trauma. It made me go, yo, just because this ain't my mom or this ain't my uncle, I still have to move with good intentions. I can't just, because my mom's not around, now I can do all this mischievous stuff because I know this teacher for a fact can't touch me, can't do nothing to me because that's not my mom. Kids move like that. I've been in places, I'm from Philly, where I've talked to kids and they pop and fly with me a certain way because they know I can't do nothing. You handicap the person that's trying to help your child. So I'm not saying I'm okay with that, but I am personally okay with disciplinary schools. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't know about that specific situation.
So you would let your son go to a disciplinary school? That word is hard.
Disciplinary, yeah, absolutely.
Disciplinary school.
Absolutely.
They have to learn, and it depends on the child. They have to learn consequences. Like I benefit from that, but my brother didn't benefit from that. Like we were essentially, if we were talking about our childhoods, it's like we grew up in two different households, and thankfully my mom figured out I'm very like, tell me what I need to do. All right, I did this wrong, consequences. All right, cool, I'm gonna go this way. Like I was very straightforward. My brother's not like that. So it also depends on the child. And my mom ended up sending my brother to a different school, because it's for certain things. And so it depends on the child, and if the child, is going to flourish in that, or the child needs something else. It's really just dependent on the child.
Kiki, what you think?
I'm trying to unmute myself because my mother is in the background because I'm visiting her.
Hey,
Kiki's mom.
She's on the phone. She's like, you're visiting me, so you be quiet. I'm like, but okay. Anywho, Darren, you said this earlier. I remember a point like growing up like in the 90s where like I'm from Brooklyn and we grew up in an apartment building where like if my great grandmother or mother wasn't there, we had neighbors who became like our aunties and uncles. So when we stepped out of line, it was normal for auntie and uncle who lived in apartment 3B to be like, what are you doing, and to snatch you up real quick. And I know some like abusive shit, but to kind of check you and be like, your grandmother's not here and I hear you being outside being disrespectful. So like that's how we grew up. And I remember being in school in first grade, and we had a teacher who, we're first grade, she used to like twist your ear if you were like being really bad. And I remember I was like, I'm never getting on this lady's bad side. Like, and the parents knew about it, and the parents were cool with it. So I really do think it depends on, listen, being a teacher is hard. Yeah. And I don't think people give, like, people talk about postal workers going postal. Like, teachers do not get the pay and the credit that they deserve, because some people send their kids to school without the proper anything. Anyhow. And I know it's hard being a teacher, but I do think if you, as a parent, you have an agreement, and the fact that the parent was standing there, I think it's their business, and that's how the mother wants to do it. And I think if you're the parent, that's just your business, and no one should be in your business.
Right.
Like, I don't like abusing kids, but I feel like you said, disciplinarian school. I can't even say it either. If that's what you want to do with your kids, that's your business. And I don't think society has any right to be like, this is how you should do it.
Right. I don't think, okay, so I don't agree. I don't all the way agree. I was taught that if you disrespect the teacher, I'll discipline you at home. And I got disciplined. Like, I was scared. Like, I was brought up by very strong women. So my grandmother was around. My mother is a very strong woman, and her sisters are very strong women. So I would actually get disciplined. But my grandma and my mother made sure that it wasn't anybody else actually disciplining me. And I think that had to do with kind of like trauma. Like maybe like not wanting a trauma situation or a PTSD, in this case with this kid, which sounds like there was afterwards. But I have to disagree. I don't want anybody else actually disciplining my child. I want you to talk to me about it so that I can discipline my child as should be disciplined, and they're getting disciplined by me. But I do think that you still have to tell them, still have to have the communication of, this is, you can't do this. Like, you can't continue to do this. And if you do, like, you're going to continue. Because I hardly ever got whippings. I was the only child, so I was a good kid. And so I feel like, y'all laugh, but I'm serious.
I mean, you said it. Okay.
I was a really good kid. I was a little faulty teenager, but that was like normal teenage stuff. Like, you know, like sneaking out the house and stuff. But because I lived in Dayton, my mom would, you know. But anyway, I feel like I would not want a teacher, and I know that they have a hard job, but I do not want the teacher or principal or anybody other than myself or the father of my child disciplining our kid in a way where you're getting a spanking. When you're physically getting disciplined, you should not touch my kid. And if you do, let me tell you, I'm poised, but Dayton will come out. Mm-hmm. And that's
I agree too.
I think we all agree on that level. I think it's one of those things where it's like, no one should be touching your kid if you do not know, like, at all.
Yeah,
at all.
No.
But I do think in that situation, it's a communication thing where I think the mother probably told the principal, the teacher, like, do what you feel like you need to do. Like, in that situation.
Well, she was an immigrant, so she was an undocumented person, yeah. So she filmed it.
Yeah, I think when she signed up for the school, because what I was saying, even on Hollywood Unlocked, for this woman to have this paddle, someone agreed to this. Now, but I'm not going to sit there and say this woman agreed to it because she wanted to. She probably agreed to it like, I need my daughter to be in this school.
Yeah.
So it's probably a little against her will, and I can understand that point of view. And I agree with you. If I don't give you the okay to discipline my child, don't touch my child. But if I make the conscious decision like, hey, I like this school, I like this institution. If my son acts up, I am okay with y'all disciplining my kid. That's a whole nother conversation. So I do agree with you. I have to give the okay. If I go to a place and I don't feel that energy to do that, then it's never going to happen. And you need to speak to me and I'm going to discipline my kid. So, but I came up that way. And like I said, I grew up in Islam, and your neighbor is not a stranger. It's like your brother, it's your sister, you know, you would be Sister Monique, you know what I'm saying? So you hitting me, even though we're not family, you're still family in our culture, in our community. So I think more than take school out of it, we need to bring that tribe, that community back within whatever our neighborhoods are, where your kid just knows to respect people outside of who's in the house, because it don't work for you in the real world. Especially, I'm raising a young man. You don't have respect for people outside in this world, you can get killed. You disrespect another boy, he could shoot you. You disrespect the police, they can kill you. You have to learn how to move with integrity. And I'm not saying, move with fear, but move with integrity, move and carry yourself like a man. And you can only get that with having multiple people to some degree help raise your kid. Everybody comes in as a teacher.
I mean, I totally agree with that. I do agree, but I don't think it has to always be like physical.
No, absolutely. I agree with that too. It doesn't have to always be physical.
No, and physically, I don't want anybody else touching my child. I don't care who it is. We can grow up as a tribe. We can be family. But if you touch my child, it's a done deal. Like, don't touch, because there is a form of communication as well. And because there are certain people I would automatically respect as a child, and all they had to do was give me a look. And it wasn't from my mom. I just know that my mom gave me that look. So I knew to respect them because they gave me the look. So I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be physical.
And I understand that. And you're also a lady, and you're a grown woman. But as a man, I'm going to tell you this. If you ever have a little boy, at some point, physical has to step into it. That's just how it is. That's how boys are. And I know people be like, it's not like this is a new. It's not. That's not how it works. Boys are hard-headed and we're physical beings. That's why we play football. That's why little kids, they play wrestle with their uncles all day long for hours. They can jump. That's just how we are. So I'm not saying, oh yeah, you need to beat the crap out of your son and nothing like that. Never. But at some point, you're going to realize if you're raising a kid, that's a young man, you're going to get his dad like, yo, I need you to holler at him in a different kind of way because he ain't listening to me. You're going to see that.
But I would do that with his dad. I wouldn't want nobody else.
Absolutely. However, let's be real. A lot of our situations, the dad might not be in the home. You might have to go to a brother. You might have to go to a close friend. It's the same thing. That's all I'm saying.
True. It's
just the same thing. It's just all the perspective. None of us are saying here like, oh yeah, anybody can just come and just beat up on our kids. Not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. I agree. Okay, I can walk away and agree with that part.
Sometimes you might have to go to your brother like, hey man, I need you to really holler at.
Listen, I've had my half brothers. I've had situations where like my dad had to call his brothers to talk to his sons and be like, yo, or like my aunt would have to call some of my uncles or like their guy friends and be like, I need you to come talk to so-and-so because if I do it, it's going to be a different problem. So I know exactly what you mean when it comes to boys because they get a little older. You're like, let me call your uncle. Let me call. Sometimes, you know.
And it's honestly like it's something in the nature. It's some things that's naturally women and some things that naturally guys. At some point, a man is going to, especially if he's living in a house and there's a woman there, he's going to alpha up and be like, yo, like, I hear what you're saying, but honestly, I'm doing my thing. And somebody has to come in and re-regulate that. One day, my son is going to try to challenge me because he's going to get to a certain size. He's going to feel a certain way with testosterone. Like, yo, whatever you're saying is whack. And I'm going to have to let him know, hey, son.
I've had some cousins who have tried that on like my aunt, and my aunt had to be like,
yeah.
She was
that's when you understand that phrase. Listen, I brought you in, I can take you out. Like
my aunt had to like hold my cousin up and be like, love you, but don't. She's like, it's because you like 6 feet now. Don't think that you're gonna win this fight because you're not. I was like, that's what's up. Yep.
Yeah, because I my cousins will try it too. They're both boys, and one of them, he's really nice. Like he's a really nice guy, but you know, with his family members, he'll try it because he's like 6 foot now. I'm like, listen, I don't fight fair. You better take that somewhere else. So I can get that part. Like I can get that part as they get a little bit older.
Yeah, it's a certain point you go, you know. And me and my son, like I discipline my son, but I try to be physical at the very, very last resort. But sometimes it's like, hey, man, now there's only so many times I'm going to have this talk. Then you're going to have to really feel some real repercussions, man. Like, because when I'm talking to you, you're not respecting it. So I'm going to have to show you something different. So so now you know when I'm talking to you, this is the first line of defense. Don't let me go past this point again. So it's all a balance, man. It's just a balance.
And every kid is different. Every kid is so different.
And there's no pamphlet on being a parent. Like, you really just do it as you go.
And like TK said, and I said this earlier, like, really have those talks with your kid. Understand with the way they think. Ask them questions like, well, why do you think like that? Because then you can probably eliminate some issues just trying to get into their point of view and go, well, if you think like this is how I feel from your point of view. And they can go, oh, I have to do that with my son a lot. I'd be like, so why did you do that? How do you see this? Okay, so from that point of view, daddy felt like you shouldn't have done this and this X, Y, and Z. And it opens up his mind more like, oh, better than me just saying, don't do that because I said don't do that.
Right.
Because now he's just going to find a way to sneak and do it. He's not going to really respect the feeling of not doing that and understand the disrespect.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you.
This wraps up our episode. We totally appreciate it. Tell our audience where they can find you.
Oh man, on all social media platforms at The Real, THE Real DJ Damage. I'm on Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored. We have our radio show, our podcast, and our television show on Fox Soul. Also, the Legendary Media Group. So check out legendarymediagroup.com. Sign up, hit me up. I'm doing consultations, enrollment's back open. And I appreciate y'all for bringing me on for Father's Day. It's love.
What are they signing up for?
Oh, if you want to become a media powerhouse, if you're interested in becoming a television host, radio personality, or even doing podcasting, check out the Legendary Media Group.
Yay. Okay, Queens, let them know where they can find you.
Yes, I want to say happy Father's Day, and to all the single dads out there, you can slide into my DMs at Kiki Boom Boom. Okay? Thanks.
Single
Single
keyword.
dad.
Not
Single.
married.
Not
Listen.
situationship dad, not
Yes.
married dad, not on and off dad. Single fathers only.
Single.
Relationship dad.
Single.
Not we're just
Sure.
kicking it dad. Single dad.
Not babies on the way, but we're not
Oh,
together. Like,
not this was my roommate and she just had the baby dad and I lived there. No, single fathers slide into
Single.
my DMs at Kiki Boom Boom.
Single good fathers.
Yes. We'll figure that out once they get there. We'll figure it out. Just get in there.
wow. You can find me on everything at TK Trinidad. For my singles fathers out there, you can also slide into my DMs, but you can also get some cocoa butter. You can go to centerinit.co. We have cocoa butter, we have body wash, we have candles, all some masculine scents, not all fruity stuff. We have some stuff for you, so definitely check that out. But yeah, slide into my DMs. But yeah, and you can have more than one kid too. Just make sure they're matched.
Y'all trying to come for me, but I'm keeping it at one right now. I don't care what none of y'all say. Okay,
Monique, that's gross. That is gross.
Father at number one.
You went from none to one, so that is growth.
Growth. Thank you. Thank you. Growth.
Now,
y'all can. What was you gonna say?
No. Go ahead.
Y'all can find me at It's Monique Loveless on IG. And also make sure y'all follow us on all social media platforms at Queens Uncut. Also visit our website, www.blackqueensuncut, and our YouTube page at Black Queens Uncut. We are dropping a new episode every Wednesday. So make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can get our updates. And also make sure you catch up on our last episodes in last season, seasons 1, 2, and now we're in 3. Hey. So make sure y'all keep up with the queens and everything that we're doing, as we're going to have so much more coming to you and for you, because we love our audience. Thank you so much for being with us. And I think that's pretty much it. Happy Father's Day. Yes. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, or all the people who have taken on another person's child, or you are fatherly, your uncle father, your son father, your brother
mentor,
father, all the above.
If she calls you a daddy somehow.
Period.
No. We're not going there. We're not going there.
But shout out to the mentors, shout out to the uncles, the brothers, the fathers, the godfathers, the cousins.
Yes.
Takes on the father role.
Yes, definitely. And make sure if you're single and a good one and only have one, you can hit my DMs. Yeah.
And I want to talk about that. So, ladies, y'all have the requirements for fathers to go in your DMs. For all the mothers that jump in DMs, if your kid is not at least 1.5, please don't slide into guys' DMs. It's very disturbing when a newborn mother is in my DMs. It's like the baby was just born last week, and what's happening?
But you know what, Damage? I love hearing that from a guy, because us girls will say, like, this is what we want. And I love hearing a guy say, like, to the mothers, like, please don't do X, Y, and Z. So I love that.
At least 2. It's like to go on somebody's page and the baby's like a newborn and you like sliding in DMs. It's like, where is the dad?
Maybe she did the process where she went to a clinic, wanted to be a mom, and she's like, hey, what's up?
Well, then you have to put that in the DM as well. Then
that's true. Like,
first of all, he shouldn't be getting no DMs. He's taken. You're off the roster.
And I'm saying this for not just for me, all guys.
I don't mean your DMs are closed.
That's a little different to have a newborn kid and you DM jumping. Even if you did the process where you did it on your own, I think you should still give it some time. Let the kid at least be 1, or you DM jumping trying to. I don't know.
I feel that.
I feel like, to me, as a dad, I feel like you're trying to quickly replace a dad.
Think about that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, whatever didn't work out while you were pregnant with old boy, now you're trying to hurry up and just give it some time. Like, let the kid walk a little bit. I want to see at least some walking videos. And then it's like, hey, like, all right, not.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This was a great episode.
It really was. Thank you for coming on, Damage. I really
No doubt.
appreciated that you took the time out of your day to come on with the queens because
You
I
see
know
how
you was
tired I
like,
look, right? I'm still like trying to recover from this week, but I appreciate y'all.